What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And Bitcoin is starting to get an aggressive pullback from the all-time high. But if you guys tuned into yesterday's live stream or the market update, you will know this is not really a surprise to us because we were approaching a key level of resistance with a lot of liquidity above, giving us an opportunity to look for that pullback down to some key levels of support. And we have actually now lost one of those key levels. I'm going to cover some of those key levels to the downside and the really big levels that we really want to hold if we want to continue this bigger push to the upside. But honestly, things are playing out exactly as we were looking for yesterday on our market update. So I just wanted to jump in here really quickly and give the Mafia a quick update on the key levels and kind of this big pullback that we are seeing. Is it something to worry about, or is it just a small pullback and a buy the dip situation for massive new all-time highs to come? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are on the Bitcoin chart, and as you can see, we are getting a bit of a pullback here from the all-time high coming in at about $112,000. And if you've been following along with the channel, you will know that this $112,000 level was one of the big levels of resistance that we were looking at and one of our next major targets to the upside. Before we jump into the TA, I'm just going to play a little clip from yesterday's market update to show exactly what we were looking for a potential pullback here on Bitcoin, and you can see why I'm not necessarily surprised here for this pullback to come in. So I'm going to drop that clip in right here. So if we do start to get some turbulence here at about $112,000, one thing I am going to be aware of is we could get a failed auction up above this previous all-time high where we come up, we kind of bing bong around at higher prices, and then once you lose that all-time high, that could be the end. That could be your failed auction for that bigger drop to the downside. We probably have a pretty decent low volume gap here. So once we lose that level, we could see that quick drop to the downside, sweep out some of those long positions, and then hopefully we can get support on that value area high. So I would say all-time high and this value area high Fibonacci zone are the two biggest levels to look at on the chart. So there you go, guys. We came up here and we did get some kind of a failed auction here, losing that all-time high at $109,880. And as we were looking at on the heat maps, guys, you guys know we were looking at the liquidity sitting just above the previous high, giving us an opportunity to put in some bearish divergences, as well as some other entry signals to look for a potential pullback to start at this area. And we did talk about some key levels of support. Number one was that previous all-time high, which was our key level that we really wanted to hold to keep that aggressive uptrend going. But you guys can see we have lost that level, come back down, bearishly retested it, and we could be looking for the bigger correction that we were looking at in yesterday's video. Now, this was a short setup that we were looking at in the premium Discord, looking at that liquidity above, watching for that potential swing failure just above the previous high and those bearish divergences to get that cool off down to the previous all-time high. And we knew if we wound up losing that, it does open the door down to another big key level of resistance, which you guys know from yesterday's videos. But I want to talk about the possibility of this potentially playing out in full. And as you guys know from yesterday's live stream, I did short the top there. My entry was sitting at about $111,475, and I moved my stop loss to break even a little bit prematurely, and I got stopped out slightly in profit, pretty much at break even there before the move to the downside. And although that was technically a win, I got stopped out in a few dollars of profit, but unfortunately, it got me out of that position before the entire move played out. Just like anybody, I am not 100% a perfect trader, and this does sting a little bit. I moved my stop loss a little bit prematurely, but nice to see that setup play out either way. And the TA has absolutely slapped here. So I do want to break this down, guys. Very simply, we got that SFP. We're getting the cool off. The previous all-time high was that first level that if we were going to continue that aggressive uptrend, you would hope to hold that level. But we knew once we lost that, we could potentially start a bigger retracement down to some bigger levels. And if we do get that bigger correction down, we do still have our key level of support, which again, we covered on yesterday's video update. So as of right now, guys, if we are unable to reclaim this all-time high decisively and we're able to get stuck underneath here, it could open up a bit of a bigger correction down to the $105,000 zone, which obviously you guys are familiar with. We covered this on yesterday's live stream as well as the market update earlier in the day. And you guys can see we do have the golden pocket 786 retracement sitting here. So although unfortunately we have lost that previous all-time high, we do still have some big key levels of support down below. I wouldn't say that this is a gigantic sign of weakness for massive downside to come, but if we cannot reclaim this previous all-time high, guys, just like in yesterday's video, we are going to be continuing to look down towards this $105,000 level. And in my opinion, this is the biggest level on the chart. Not the line in the sand that would make me flip super bearish, but this would really be that big key level that we want to hold, because if you do come down here, guys, this is obviously the value area high of our macro range. And if we are able to kind of come down here and hold another higher low, this will be a very nice level to bounce off of, because sometimes when when we get those bigger breakouts out of the range, price will come back down and retest that value area high, and we're simply seeing that play out perfectly right now. So the biggest key level to watch on your charts right now, guys, is going to be this zone sitting here between about $106,000 to $104,182 near that golden pocket 786 Fibonacci retracement. And you can see we also have an anchored VWAP coming through this zone as well, which could add some nice confluence to that level. Now, if we take a look at Market Cipher B, guys, you can see we do have some money flow coming out here on the 1 hour time frame. We also have a potential daily bearish divergence printing into that key level of resistance with our higher highs on price action, lower highs on our momentum waves, and this VWAP is coming down looking to print that red dot. So if we do see that daily bearish divergence print and potentially confirm today or tomorrow, we might be able to continue that bigger move down to our next zone. And just with that incoming red dot, we could potentially anticipate this to be the case, right? Because we've lost that previous all-time high. And if that red dot prints, you can see here on the 90-minute, our money flow is also coming down into the red, which is a Market Cipher B 1/16th bearish setup. And if we see that 90-minute money flow crossover into the red with that daily red dot, we could potentially anticipate the downtrend to continue here on the 90-minute, which could easily bring us down into that next key zone of support. So that's what I'm going to be watching here for the continuation to the downside. And your boy Frankie Candles, unfortunately, is going to have to try to find some new short setups here, even though I had the perfect entry. And you guys can even see here on this P&L, my entry was 111,470. We came into profit, and I just moved my stop loss down to break even a little too early. We came back up and stopped me out pretty much at break even. Like I said, slightly in profit, made 1.4%. But you can't cry over missed gains, guys. There's always going to be another opportunity, although it does sting personally. I am not just going to try to FOMO and revenge trade here. I'm going to wait for a nice setup if it does present itself. But I just wanted to break this down for you guys, because if we do continue down, I know it can get very scary, especially after all this excitement. It's like, oh my God, now we're dumping. What's going on here? Just understand we do have very, very key support down below. Now, if we do come back down to this level and we start losing this 786, this would potentially open the door to our last key level of support that I will be interested in. I'm going to go ahead and hide this anchored VWAP. We'll hide the macro range, and I'm going to pull up our local scalp range. Again, that value area high in the $105,000 to $106,000 zone is the biggest level I'd really prefer to hold. But if we did break down below those levels, I will be looking at this local scalp range where we know we do have a lot of liquidity sitting down here. So if we do get down to that volume profile, we could potentially look to get another bounce and potentially still hold on to our higher low scenario here, continuing that uptrend. This would be that last key level that I would really want to bounce off of, guys, because if we do come down, we could potentially sweep out some of that liquidity, scare everybody, sweep out all the longs that were entering in this range, and then send it back to the upside. However, if we do end up losing these lows down here, guys, the bottom of this wick here is at about $100,800, and we looked at the heat maps yesterday, understanding we do have liquidity down there. So if we do get down there, guys, I wouldn't mind the sweep of liquidity, but if we start losing that level, guys, we are getting dangerously close to losing $100,000, and if we start breaking down through this market structure here, guys, that is really going to be the level where I'm saying to myself, well, hey, you know, this would be really nice to bounce off our first key level at the value area high. If we come down here, it wouldn't be the worst scenario. However, if we start losing these lows, guys, it does open the door to potentially come back down to $96,000 to $97,000, where we have the POC of our macro range. And once we get stuck inside this profile, based off the laws of the volume profile, you know, it is definitely a possibility to get stuck inside this value area. And then once you lose that value area high decisively, we don't get the strong bounce from our last level here. The doorway to that POC is 100% open, in my opinion. And that'll kind of be where I'm starting to flip a little bit more bearish. Maybe not for a bear market or something like that, but just for a much bigger retracement to come in. But with the way that that daily red dot is looking to print with the 90-minute money flow crossing over into the red, just like I had you guys prepared for this drop down yesterday, I do just want to make sure that you guys understand the key levels of support and really where I'm going to be flipping a little bit more bearish. So those are the key levels I'm looking at, guys. Watch that 90-minute money flow and the daily red dot printing to potentially anticipate that bigger correction. And just to show you guys that heat map with the liquidity sitting down here below those range lows that I was just talking about, sitting at about $102,000 all the way down to about $100,800. It does line up perfectly with these wicks. I wouldn't mind coming down, sweeping out some of that liquidity, but we really want to start getting like an SFP and a pretty quick bounce from that level. If not, we may be on our way down towards that point of control at 97 to 96K. But as of right now, nothing really too crazy is happening. Key support down below. It's not going to be until we start getting accepted into this range and losing those lows where I do flip a little bit more bearish. Until then, I will be looking for potential higher lows and potential higher highs to come in. even if we have to go sweep that liquidity below the range lows. But I just wanted to drop this quick video on the channel for you guys to keep you updated. Yeah, we're getting the drop, but obviously we were looking for that yesterday, so it's not a huge surprise here. I wish I didn't get stopped out at break even, but hey, I would rather get stopped out in slight profit rather than just being wrong about a trade and getting absolutely crushed. And sometimes it's the discipline in these situations to kind of just sit on your hands and wait for another setup. You know, I do also get those emotions as a trader, like, oh my God, I got to get back into a short position. I got a revenge trade, but I'm not going to do that. I feel those emotions, but I'm going to fight them and not actually make any decisions based off those emotions. But I do just like to be fully transparent with you guys. I am not a perfect trader. I don't win all my trades, even though that technically was a win. Sometimes you move your stop loss too early and you get stopped out at break even. But I just wanted to show this for you guys, give you a little bit of peace of mind, let you know we do have key support down below. And hey, if we start losing $102,000, maybe we could start looking a little bit lower. But as of right now, we're going to be looking for those higher lows and higher highs. So with all that being said, guys, that's all the time I got for today's video. Very nice to see the TA play out almost perfectly here, regardless of getting stopped out at break even. You can see if you're able to identify where that liquidity is and you know what confirmations to look for, you can really start to predict what price will do next, so you can make some higher probability bets and make money trading Bitcoin, whether price goes up or down. So I'll see you guys a little later on the live stream at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's all the time I got for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Frankie Candles out.
Go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide.